Hello everyone, it's Campbell here coming at ya with another video. Today is a video that I've been so excited to start making for you guys. Yes, this is going to be the first video in a 3-part series for now. I've got more ideas for this series, but today we're going to be talking about my Disney Cruise Line experience. That's right. For right now, I only have 3 videos planned in this series, but there's probably going to be more in the future. Who knows? Today, we're going to be talking about some of the stuff before you get on the ship itself. I hope to provide some sort of insight into my experience, or if anyone out there watching is thinking about becoming a crew member or just interested in the cruising experience, I hope this video helps you out. Very important disclaimer to get out of the way on top. This is my personal experience and opinions, and they're truly ones of my own, and they don't reflect the Disney Cruise Line Company as a whole. Just note that your mileage may vary, and working on a cruise ship, it does. Today, I'll be going over some of the pre-arrival requirements that you'll need to do before working on a cruise ship. So here we go! First and foremost, you need to apply for a position or register your interest, like you would with any other job or any other role. You need to register your expression for it. Disney Cruise Line works slightly differently. You do need to go to DCLjobs.com, and depending on the country you are from, you'll need to go through a procurement alley. Now, a procurement alley is an authorized agency in your area that can recruit on Disney Cruise Line's behalf. They also prepare you to what to expect and sort of just like help you along with the recruitment process. They're kind of your middle ground communicator, if that makes sense. I've linked the full list of procurement alleys down in the description below, so that can kind of help you with the starting the process depending on what country you're from. There's what country you're from, there's different requirements and stuff like that as well. Luckily, I didn't have to deal with that because my experience is slightly different. I got a direct offer when I was doing the Disney College program, and I had a direct contact at Disney Cruise Line themselves. So my experience, I understand, is slightly different than many experiences out there. Mine was very unique. After this happens, the recruiter reviews your background and match with what they're looking for in particular, and you'll be contacted the next steps. Then what you'll need to do is you'll need to fill out a profile on Disney Careers like you would with any other position in the Walt Disney Company, and sort of open up that, start that recruitment process, and there you'll get sort of, you fill out your information and make sure it's correct, and that's where you'll put your resume and stuff like that as well. So once a position opens up for you, you'll get contacted to do a interview, and the next phase will be the interview process. The video interview is a little intense. I'm not gonna beat around the bush there. At least in my experience, it was. Here, it'll be around a 45-minute interview, and they'll go over a lot of different things. They'll go over your background and your Disney story. So that's very important as well to emphasize, is they'll ask you about not necessarily just your career or your working background, but your connection with Disney as well, because the show element is very important at the Walt Disney Company. So it's very important to have that Disney story thought of before walking into the interview. Greater details about the role and your on/off boat duties and responsibilities. So on board, my duties were different, slightly different than my roles, say, when I was working on Castaway Cay. It's the same role in theory, but I had shared on and off board duties and responsibilities. The very basic contract details are revealed as well. The big one with this is the expected length of your contract and your salary is discussed in this part as well. So non-finite details of your contract are reviewed, so sort of just like a what to expect. You won't get your contract until way later in the process. There is still a long to get to that, but they kind of give you those basic information to sort of whet your appetite, if you will. Ew. Disney Look. Oh my gosh. I could do a 9-part video series on Disney Look, and if anyone is who many of my friends that work for Disney are watching this, Disney Look is a big focus. Spoiler alert, as I'm filming this, I am off contract, so Disney Look doesn't quite apply to me. Woo! Round of applause for me. But they will kind of ask you if you've got any tattoos, or if you can cover up your tattoos. If you have facial hair, they will go over the facial hair policy. Please note, if you are working in the Disney parks, the Disney Look guidelines are different on cruise line than what they are in the parks. So with the parks, for example, you could have a beard in a certain criteria as long as it was neat and tidy. No beards on cruise line. A mustache is acceptable, but no beards. And then they'll ask you questions like, why do you want to work for Disney Cruise Line? What do you plan to get from this opportunity? They'll go over basic ports of call. They're sort of the different itineraries that the ships are planning to go on in the near future, so you can kind of do your research on where you'll be traveling to. And they'll go over the benefits that you get from being a Disney Cruise Line crew member, and any questions that you may have for them. Then now is a good time to bring those up as well. Like I said, the interview goes for around 45 minutes, but can be longer and shorter depending on questions and conversation. Mine went for about 50, I believe. 50 to 55 minutes. That's pretty normal. They're scheduled for an hour, but unless you have a lot of questions for them. So it's sort of, the basic interview is about 40 to 45 minutes and sort of just goes on what you go from there, like what questions you ask them. It took me about a week to hear back after the interview, and then whether you get moved to the next round or whether you unfortunately don't, it's totally up to them and what they're looking for, as well as sort of reviewing that background. If you don't get in, there's nothing stopping you reapplying down the line. There's nothing. As long as you're in good standing with the Walt Disney Company, you can apply numerous times. If you do make it to the next round, you'll receive an email with a pre-employment checklist. This pre-employment checklist is pretty beefy. There's a lot to do in this pre-employment checklist. First, you have to create an account for Doc, that's Disney's Onboarding Central, a platform that they use, that they have full control over, to upload the required documents and important information like your mailing address and home and alternative airports, your home address, those sort of information. It's 100% secure, and they've on Disney servers, so it's Disney operators, so you can sort of take care in that, I guess. You'll need to obtain a background check in both the US, which you will receive right after your pre-employment checklist. You'll receive a separate email to kind of walk you through that process, and your home country as well, which they will give you details in the pre-employment checklist email. A pre-employment medical examination. This can go one of two ways. You can use your own doctor, where they'll give you a form for your family practitioner or your general practitioner to complete, or you can go to a company-approved medical center that I believe will get paid for. I'm not too sure. Me personally, I went to my family doctor and they did an amazing job. And like I said, they will give you all the forms to fill that out. You can apply for a compensation when you go on board for up to $200 to compensate for that pre-employment medical examination, because it is a work expense. So now, when you're doing this pre-employment checklist, you kind of have to, even though you haven't got an official placement, you kind of have to think along the lines of being employed. You apply for your C1D visa. That's your Seaman's visa. You can only do that when you receive your certificate of employment. So that is when they send you a certificate in the mail, and you have to use those dates for visa purposes only. Those dates are not accurate, but they're accurate for visa purposes. So you can apply for your visa when you have that certificate of employment, which they will send you to the mailing address you put on doc, and you can apply and get approved for the compensation when you go on board for the full cost of your visa as well. One thing I should note about the medical, I'll go back to the medical for a quick second. You might need to get referred and make other appointments with professionals if your practitioner cannot complete everything in-house. So say, for example, I had to book a separate appointment for the hearing test part of it and the sight part of it, as well as the blood test. I had to book separate appointments. So when you're doing a timeline like I did, to sort of keep those dates in mind as well, that could take up a lot of time. One thing about the visas as well before I move on is I had to fly to Sydney because the nearest consulate to my house in Queensland was in Sydney. It was fun. I went on a weekend vacation pretty much and went to the consulate on Monday. So I flew down on the Saturday. No, I flew down on the Sunday. I flew down on the Sunday and I had like a day. I flew the morning flight like 6 a.m. or something stupid. I did this to myself. Flew down 6 o'clock on Sunday and then spent Sunday here, and then went to the consulate 9 a.m. Monday morning. And there's a story about my overnight in Sydney, but that's another entire 2-hour video on its own. And then you wait, 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 and wait, and wait, and wait, and wait, and then finally, surprise, an offer comes in. Ba-da! Now, me personally, I waited 2 months after completing everything in the pre-employment checklist. So be very mindful of that. My one tip is keep your job. If you don't have a job at the time of applying, get a temporary job. For 2 reasons. One, you will be grateful for having a little bit of extra financial support up to you. And 2, you'll need to find a way to pay for some of the pre-employment details up front. Say, for example, the visa you need to pay for up front, which you'll get compensated for later. I went back to my old job. This happened between Disney World and then Cruise Line. I went back to my old position and I had that little bit of backing for me, but that is one of my big tips. Get a temporary position for yourself while doing or keep your current position while applying for the DCL. You will have plenty of notice to give them when you get your offer, because it's very important that you don't put yourself at financial risk. It's worth it, but it's not that worth it, if that makes sense. Then an official offer comes in. So it came in about a month before embarking. The embark date on the actual thing, I believe I got mine on like the 30th of December, and I was embarking on the 16th of February. I was arriving on the 16th of February. So it has all the details that you want on that offer email. What ship you'll be on, when your arrival date is, when your embark day is, where you'll be embarking from, where you're going to be disembarking. It has everything on that email, and you will have to acknowledge that email. They'll give you the instructions in the email. Disney Cruise Line are very good at giving you details in the emails. So you just have to make sure you pause and read the emails. If you do miss something or you can't find it, you are more than welcome to contact them. But particularly for me in Australia, there is a 15-hour time difference. And you've got to take that into consideration. Whereas you might email them near the business on Friday, but it's Thursday there. So keep that in mind when you're doing that as well. And they've got other people to deal with as well. So keep that in mind. You can email them, but don't expect immediate response. They will get back to you every time, but it might be a few days later. So about a month before embarking, they'll send you, after you acknowledge that email, about a month out, they'll send you a pre-embark email, which includes your contract. I cannot stress this enough. Read your contract. It is your life. It is how your length of employment plays out on the ship. So read your contract. It is important. You have to sign several pages of it. Again, they'll give you instructions in the email themselves. And the pre-embark email will have other forms for you to sign. For example, I think there was a few that were like consent forms. I was in a position where I had a quarterly incentive plan, so I had to read and sign that. And then there's a few other consent forms to sign as well. And you need to upload those to Doc. And sort of, it is very good email because it tells you also what forms to bring with you when you embark the ship on your start date. And finally, the last pre-arrival thing to happen is you receive your travel details about a week out. I know, they cut it very fine. I am aware of this. As well as information regarding what to do upon your arrival and your first week's schedule, because you might arrive in Orlando and then have to do personal survival techniques, traditions, charting your course, and stuff like that. I had to do 2 days of PST, which involved me going to a pool and flipping a lifeboat over. It was so fun. A shout out to my traditions group. They are simply amazing, and they made life on board so much better. I was blessed with a day off in that week, so that was fun. I got to hang out with all my friends at Disney World because I am an annual pass holder. I can't not be at this point. I don't know why I'm a pass holder. I get in for free anyway. But the trade-off with that was you have to get up at around 3:30 for embark morning. And I'll go over sort of first week details in another video because it is such a big week and there's a lot of things that are crammed into that week. So yeah, that is my journey on how I became a Disney Cruise Line member on board. My ship was the Disney Fantasy, my first contract, before the world had other plans. I did get moved to the Disney Magic, so that was fun. I got to experience 2 cruise ships in one contract, and I did a transatlantic crossing. Literally, I sailed from the US over to the UK. And I will tell more about those stories in another video, but I hope this video has helped some of you answer some questions about what to do before you get to the US to become a crew member for Disney Cruise Line. At least that was my experience, and I know that many experiences are unique. Each crew member is individual. So if you have any questions, please do let me know down in the comments below, and I'll do my absolute best to help with anything at all, any questions. And if you want to see many of my adventures, you can follow me on Instagram at @TheDaleCampbell. That's TheDaleCampbell. And I have plenty of photos up on there from different things that I got to do. And I would not trade this experience for the world. I know that the world has had other plans for a lot of different people, but it's definitely, I will return for a second contract because it has been an absolute experience. The people have made it so much more amazing, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Next time on the DCL video series will be a week in the life of. Ta-da! I'm so excited to make that video. But thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'll have a new video coming at you real soon. And until then, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.